President, my question is to the Leader of the Government. Minister, yesterday Victoria reached an unenviable world record 246 days of harsh lockdown that has destroyed businesses, damaged mental health and caused huge social dislocation. Minister, under the orders of this chamber, you're required to produce the briefing documents behind each of the scores of public health orders, and yet you have not provided one of the briefing documents due to this House under orders on the 2nd of September, the 16th of September and the 30th of October 2020. And I therefore ask, will you produce the briefing documents behind each public health order which Victorians are entitled to see after now 247 days in lockdown?
Leader of the Government.
Thank you, President. And I've had similar questions like this in the past, and I continue to remind the chamber that under this government we have been very transparent. We have tabled more documents in our time than even contemplated by those opposite. Mr Davis, when you guys were in government, you used and abused your numbers in this chamber to block everything. We take a very collaborative approach to the...
Thank you. Order. Mr Davis on a point.
The member well knows that question time is not a time to attack the opposition, it's a time to answer questions. And I note that she's very poor at answering questions, but I would appreciate she attempt to actually answer a very simple question.
Ms Shing on a point.
Thanks. The Leader of the Government had barely gotten to her feet before the interjections began from opposite, including from Mr Davis, who threw the door open to precisely the matter which the Leader of the Government was going to.
Thank you. Leader of the Government, continue.
Thank you, President. As I was saying, this government takes a very collaborative approach when it comes to information and documents sought by non-government members and in particular this chamber. However, there are long-standing practices and principles that apply to any documents that are sought. Every document motion that is put up in this chamber, you would note the government do not oppose these documents motions. We allow them to go through the process because that is the right thing to do. However, if a document is subject to legal privilege or executive privilege, this chamber does not have the power to compel those documents. We often talk about this in my office about the things that the chamber can and can't do, but I would point the House to a recent quote from Professor Anne Toomey, a constitutional law expert. Parliament could legislate to state that the earth is flat, or for that the moon is a ball of green cheese, but such a legislation would not make it so. The same principle applies here. The Council cannot compel the production of documents that are subject to a claim of executive privilege, for example, on the basis that this would be contrary to the public interest. I maintain that our practice will continue. We are more than happy to work with the Council on documents orders. They go through the process, I respond appropriately, and the amount of documents that have been tabled in this chamber from this government is more than zero compared to those who used to be in government sitting on the other side.
Mr Davis on a supplementary.
We know, President, that is just bunk. But the order passed on the 16th of September last year demanded that you provide the briefing documents supporting the curfew promulgated on the 2nd of August last year. To date, you have neither provided the documents or presented them for independent arbitration, as is provided for the standing order. And I therefore ask, why do you continue to defy the order of the House, and what does the Andrews Labor government have to hide in keeping these lockdown briefings secret?
Leader of the Government.
Thank you, President. I can only refer to my answer to the substantive question. Documents motions go through appropriate processes. When you are talking about health documents, we are talking about millions and millions of documents. These are processes that we need to make sure that the right processes are followed, that the documents are examined, and those that are appropriate to be tabled would be do so. I would point out the Health Department have got a fair bit of pressure on them at the moment. I can assure you that government that requests from this chamber are being duly considered. I understand that a response was tabled in the council from Minister Hennessy in relation to this matter, and that this process is underway.
President, on a point of order, the response to this particular one, the curfew documents, was actually tabled by the Minister herself, and it listed 7 documents to which access was denied.